Yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to another weekend review show here on Cluiche with me, Séamus Brady, your host, and I'm joined once again on the show by Liam White, the man behind the Faithful podcast. Back on the show again, and a happy Liam White as well. Offaly, of course, the All-Ireland Intermediate Camogie Champions. We had Galway winning in the senior grade, winning remarkably, Liam, their fifth Camogie title. You would think that they'd have a lot more, but I mean, it's a huge win, stopping Cork win their three in a row, obviously. Then Offaly winning the intermediate, getting back to the senior grade, and then Laois claiming a dominant victory in the junior grade against Armagh to get promoted up to intermediate. So a big weekend all around for Camogie. Good to have you on, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's been a while since I've been on. Life's been busy. I can imagine yours has been busy too. But yeah, it's good to be back on. Yeah, I was up at Croke Park yesterday. Was doing commentary for Midlands 103 for the Offaly game and was helping out with the Laois game as well. And yeah, it was a cracking day for Camogie. I wouldn't say our game was the best game in the world, but sure, we don't care. We won. The Camogie, I mean, the finish, the senior Camogie final, the finish to it was absolutely incredible. And then obviously you had Laois, the performance they put in the second half to get over the line against Armagh. It was it was a great weekend of a great day of Camogie action, and looking forward to delving into it.
Absolutely, man. Looking forward to jumping in. Anybody wondering about my voice on the show, I was working the entire weekend at the Fla Kjol down in Wexford, and I got back from it today. If anybody is watching that was driving back, you remember there was a massive crash on the motorway which slowed us all right down to snail's pace on the motorway on the way home, and that added on about 40 minutes to the drive home. But I'm back, and now it's time to jump into the weekend review show. As I said to you there, Liam, I watched the second half live on my break from working. Then I watched the full game back today. And there's a lot to break down. There's a lot to get into. There's a lot of talking points. Ger Manley, of course, came out and spoke about the referee as well after the game and all that in good time. But just in case you are new here, the ticker down the bottom here will tell you how we do things on the show. So throw in your live comments, get involved in our live chat. Let us know what was your highlights of the weekend, what was your big moments of the weekend. Brian O'Riordan, of course, back on the show. Good to have you back on, Brian. He says it's hard to believe it's the end of the championship year. It's absolutely astonishing that it's already come to an end. But don't worry, Brian, there'll be more coming from us soon. More coming from us soon, without question. We are going to dive in, though, with, of course, the highlight of the weekend, which was Galway capturing their fifth All-Ireland Senior Camogie title. Galway 114, Cork 113, a monster free from Carrie Dolan right at the death proves to be the difference. Galway stopped Cork's push for a three in a row with a sensational display and in the process capture their fifth All-Ireland title. Liam, what a win for Galway.
Yeah, and 4 of those have come in the last 15 years, which is even more remarkable to think as well. And yeah, Jesus, you got to feel for Cork, losing the men's final a couple of weeks ago and now losing the Camogie final as well. I mean, spare thought for our good friend Matthew Hurley. Jesus, he's not happy. But yeah, look, a remarkable win for Galway. And do you know what it was? In a weird way, from the very moment the game started, I had a weird feeling Galway might have done it. There was just something. Do you ever just watch the start of a game and just get a sense or get a feeling that, you know, you could see how this game is going to go? And yeah, Galway were just much hungrier than Cork throughout the game. They were much stronger. Some of the slick passing, I have to say, was unbelievable. You could see, I mean, watching as an Offaly fan, you could see sort of the levels that we have to get to next year up at senior level. You know, it was like some of the passing, some of the catches, some of the movement, some of the hits. You know, it was just to see it in person was unbelievable. And look, Galway overall, in my opinion, deserved it. Look, Cork fought back towards the end. They never gave up, which is a good sign of champions. You know, they won it the last 2 years. But look, there's a debate whether they had 15 players on the pitch. Would they have won it? It's hard to know. But overall, I think Galway deserved to win the game despite the late fight back from Cork. I mean, Carrie Dolan, I mean, who else but her to come up with the late point at the end? Although I will say, if we were to be getting into the stage of who I think was player of the match, I think Aoife Donoghue was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it wasn't just the 2 points she got. I just thought her work rate and her tenacity, driving forward all the time, I thought she was absolutely superb in that game. And you got to give credit to the full back line as well. They only conceded 2 points from play to the Cork full forward line, which is not easy going at all. But yeah, no, look, Galway, in my opinion, overall, they deserved the victory. And yeah, congratulations to them. Delighted to see them win their fifth All-Ireland.
Oh, they were unbelievable. And like we were saying before the game, myself, I was on Matthew Hurley, the Gaelic stats on, I was on his show breaking down the whole game. And we were saying that the defence would be crucial to Galway. And you were mentioning they're only conceding 2 points from play to the full forward line. And you looked at the game, like Katrina Mackey was kept quiet, Amy O'Connor was kept quiet by her standards as well. Like that full back line, particularly Roisin Black at 3, is just, in my opinion, the best full back in Ireland. And they really, really were solid. And when they got that extra man, they used Ciara Hickey really, really well in that extra player role when they got that after Hannah Looney's red card. That just meant that any ball going into the full forward line was swept up by Hickey a lot of the time in that second half. They became so difficult to break down. And you were right. When you watch the game back, you can see it in the first 15 minutes. They're laying down markers. They were absolutely sensational. I think there were 3 key moments that I highlighted from the first half, and we'll go through each moment one at a time. The first key moment of the first half was, for me, the missed penalty. So, of course, Amy O'Connor fouled. Katrina Mackey steps up. Do you know what? It's one of them again where even, although you're watching it in hindsight, as I said, I watched the second half live, but then watched the full game back today. You got a sense when she was standing over it that she wasn't 100% confident she was going to stick it away. And Sarah Healy read it like a book, moved across well and saved it. And that, when a penalty is missed like that, it gives a massive kind of, it's like, you know, when people talk about in sports about a 2-point swing or a 6-point swing when it's a goal and everything like that. Yeah. Whatever momentum Cork would have got from that penalty being scored, Galway got that momentum instead from the penalty being saved.
Yeah, and even the people I was sitting beside in the press box, for some reason, I was confident, and I just tried to be someone different, because they were all like, she'll miss this. She doesn't look confident. And then I, of course, had to say, no, top corner. And then she missed it, and I got a look at me, and I was like, never mind. You know, but look, it wasn't, she'll admit it herself, it wasn't the best penalty. It was the perfect height for Sarah Healy in the net. You're not going to beat her hitting it that low and into the corner and then at that sort of height. You know, it's just not going to happen. But look, in fairness to Cork, they responded well enough. I know Aoife Donoghue got the point straight after that, but then Saoirse McCarthy and Amy O'Connor got points, you know, straight after that, and they were looking still somewhat good in the opening couple of minutes. And then, of course, you had Mairead Dillon's goal, which for me was an absolute cracker of a strike, an absolutely brilliant strike. Just completely wrong foot, or at least from where I was watching it, looked like she just completely wrong-footed Amy Lee completely. She just absolutely stood no chance the way she struck it low and hard into the back of the net. And yeah, it just felt like a big momentum switcher then. You know, it's even on the scoreboard, it still seems somewhat even, but Galway just had an extra spring in their step then. You know, it gave them the belief of, oh, right, we can go at them. We can, you know, attack their defense. You know, we found a loophole here. We found a weakness, you know. And you and Matthew kind of said it last week. Cork only really had Waterford last weekend as their real big test this year. And even then, they still won by 10 points. Could that have potentially been a factor in this game, that they didn't have an entire season of close edge games or games that they were absolutely pushed to the wire, pushed to the edge? Galway had that all season, and you could tell that, you know, they were well up for this game and they had their energy levels high. And then, you know, at the stage that they got to, coming up to halftime, they were 5 points in front. I just felt, Jesus, Cork are going to need a second half, like the almighty second half here, because they're just not performing well at all. They don't look themselves. And then, I mean, Hannah Looney's red card then, Jesus Christ, like it was like, look, in my opinion, it was a red card. I don't think that. I personally think it was. You might think it might be harsh. I just thought wrong place, wrong time.
I think as well, like, it's, my first reaction was, no, not for me. I thought it was a little bit harsh in an All-Ireland final. Like Peter says it here, Looney was reckless. I think it was reckless, but I have seen far worse tackles not being given a red card for. There wasn't a closed fist. She didn't grab the face guard. She did shove her, and it was high.
But when you do that, and with the referee somewhat so close to you, you're giving them a decision to make. And if they see some sort of movement like that, it doesn't matter what kind of excuse you try to come up with, they're going to see that as you struck. Yeah. You know, and look, from my point of view, where I was watching it from, it did maybe look some bit harsh, but then you have to also think of the referee's perspective. Yes, it's an All-Ireland final. Yes, it's a big decision to make. And look, it could ruin an All-Ireland final. But if you're giving the referee a decision to make like that, yes, she was shoved first, and look, she didn't exactly do a Zinedine Zidane or anything like that, or she didn't pull out an Anthony Joshua or a Katie Taylor box or anything like that.
Yeah.
But she's giving the referee a decision to make. So when you do that, you're leaving yourself vulnerable at all costs. But I still think I actually still think even if Cork had 15 on the pitch, I think Galway still would have won the game. I just felt there was a bit more hunger about Galway. I still feel like, look, having the extra player in the second half helped massively because, I mean, Cork were just hitting the ball. And there was one stage I was looking across and I was like, yeah, you're saying Galway have one sweeper. I think they have 3 or 4 sweepers here. There's just players all over the place. Cork are not marking at all. It was such an it felt like an open game. There was no marking whatsoever. Do you know, the players that we thought would be picking up on each other, it just wasn't happening at all. Do you know? So it was a strange sort of a game, but it was hella entertaining, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure. And I think one of the key things when we're talking about it is once Galway had the extra player and they had Ciara Hickey sweeping across the back there, they eliminated any ability for Cork really to go long. And anytime Cork went long, direct, Saoirse McCarthy did it a few times, tried to go straight in on top of Amy O'Connor. You know, Laura Tracy tried to do it a few times as well, go very long and direct. Ciara Hickey would just read it and plant herself right in front of there, or Roisin Black would come out and sweep up, or Derbla Higgins would be there. And the thing is that once they eliminated that then combined with Galway's unbelievable work rate around the middle from players like Aoife Donoghue that you're mentioning there, that combined to make it that Cork couldn't really get any good ball into their forwards, because if they were going short, they were being harassed non-stop. And if they went route one direct, it was about a 70-30 chance that Ciara Hickey was going to get there first and sweep it up. So Galway had them very much under pressure regardless of whatever way they tried to get the ball into their forwards. It was mentioned as well, Eilish O'Reilly said it in her post-match interview about how all the talk was about Cork doing the 3 in a row, how nobody could stop them. And throughout the course of the year, it had looked like nobody could stop Cork. I mean, they looked so nailed on for a 3 in a row in a lot of people's eyes going into this game. But Galway, how they used that as motivation was absolutely sensational. That being said, they also showed unbelievable steel, like unbelievable metal in that dying minute. Because when Orlaith Cahalane hit the back of the net, I'll admit this, I thought Cork are going to win this now. They're going to steal this. I just have a feeling they're going to get a free. Saoirse McCarthy's going to slot it over and somehow they'll have smashed and grabbed this and got out of here with the win. And we'll be sitting here tonight thinking, how on earth have Galway thrown that away? So for Galway then to concede that goal and keep everything calm, go down the other end, draw a free, and then Carrie Dolan, man, what a free from what a captain as well. But to hold her nerve and to send over a free, bearing in mind not that long ago, she missed the free at the end of the league final against Tip. And that, cost them the league final in a way. Tip got over the line. But for Dolan to hold her nerve the way that she did, with an All-Ireland on the line, absolutely sensational stuff. And you want to talk about a captain, you want to talk about a leader, that was unbelievable stuff.
Well, if you ever needed a player to take a free like that, and under the pressure that she was under, well, look, they could have still drawn the game. It's not like if she had missed it, they'd have lost. But just to win it, the pressure that you're under just to hit that, you need a player like Dolan there to strike it over the bar. But look, her overall performance, it wasn't just the free. Her overall presence in there was unbelievable. She led from the front. She led that team right from the very start. And yeah, look, I have to agree with you here. When Orlaith Cahalane hit that goal, I had a lot of people around me shouting, replay, extra time. We want it all, but I was in a rush to get home, so I was thinking, no, I want a winner here. I need a winner here. Because I had to get home to a homecoming. But no, yeah, look, I thought the same. I thought when Cork got that goal, I thought, right, well, we've seen this script before. They're gonna win the puck out here. The crowd's gonna get behind them. The ball's gonna be driven down, and whether it's Cahalane again, whether it's McCarthy, whether it's McCartan, somebody is going to grab the ball and shoot it over the bar. Cork's going to win. And like you said, we're going to be sitting here thinking, how the hell have Galway lost this final? This should never have happened. Cork have gotten away with it, but it shows the true sign of the great side they are. And they're still a great side. They've won 2 All-Irelands in a row. They've been in how many finals already this decade? I think, have they been in every final this decade? Or were they in 2020?
I think so. I remember they lost 2 in a row before they won it in 23. Yeah. So maybe 2020 is the last final that they weren't in.
Yeah. Like, you don't do that if you're not a good team. They're an excellent team. And look, just yesterday just wasn't their day, but I've no doubt about it. They'll be back again next year. And if anything, this defeat could absolutely fuel them on for next year to say, no more free passes, no more freebies. We're going to destroy everyone more than we already did this year. You think back to the Limerick game. Limerick will be looking at it going, oh no. they put 624, 625 past, and they could do the same thing again next year. But look, it's a fabulous win for Galway though. But it's good for Camogie. That shows that a team like Cork can be beaten.
Yeah.
Like, not in the perspective of saying I wanted Galway to win or anything, but it just shows you that no team is unbeatable. That if you provide the right tactics, lead from the front, and this is the thing as well, they were pushing up on them as well. They were not giving them a sniff yesterday at all. Not an ounce of opportunities to play with the ball. So you got to credit them. You got to credit Galway for that. Their backline, I thought, was, like you mentioned, Hickey was unbelievable. Carrie Dolan, their full backline. I mean, Black is just unbelievable. She is sensational. The job that she done in there. Sarah Healy's a solid goalkeeper as well. They have a good foundation there. Their spine, as I like to call it, is unbelievable. And look, to win a second All-Ireland in the space of the last couple of years is unbelievable. And I once Galway Girl rang out, once N17 rang out, it was party mode in Croke Park yesterday. But look, it's a tough defeat for Cork. But listen, they'll be back again. There's no question about it. I mean, Jesus Christ, they bet them by, 21 points to 10 in the league final earlier this year. So, like, they can beat them. It's just, look, I wouldn't say the occasion got to them. It was just a bad day at the office, probably more than anything.
Yeah, it was one of them days where you were kind of looking at them thinking this is a day where you need to just keep throwing things at the wall and then maybe eventually something will fall for you, because it wasn't one of them days like the All-Ireland final at 23 was one of them days where everything Cork touched sailed over the bar. Everything Cork touched flew into the back of the net. Last year's final was a bit more difficult against Galway, but yesterday's final, you could tell that they really were huffing and puffing. Like, they were just trying to make something work. And when Orlaith Cahalane got the goal, I did feel like it was potentially there for Cork to steal because of the way that they'd hung in the game, because of the way that they just hadn't ever really gone away. They'd never really stopped fighting. Points like Saoirse McCarthy landed a few monster frees as well, which has to be mentioned. I mean, some of her free taking was absolutely magnificent. Some points as well that came from the likes of Emma Murphy. Like, they just kept them in the game just a little bit. Laura Hayes got a beauty as well. And you're like, do you know what? Especially when that ball hits the back of the net, you're thinking, but they've hung in the game, and now they've got a goal and they're level, and there's 10 seconds left. Yourself, like, if that game had gone to extra time, of course you're back in Galway because they have the extra player. They're going to have more legs about them and everything like that. But you're thinking, right, on a shot to nothing here with one play left, if Cork can win the ball, now's the time to bring the hammer down. Now's the time to finish them off. So, I think that was absolutely crucial. The halftime as well, the three key moments in the first half for me were the penalty save by Sarah Healy from Katrina Mackey, the goal from Mairead Dillon as well, and then the red card on the stroke of halftime for Hannah Looney, bearing in mind that Ailish O'Reilly had just put Galway 5 points ahead seconds before that red card from Looney. So going into halftime, you're already thinking, geez, this is a serious test now for Cork, because Cork have blown everybody else away over the course of the year. Now they have a team staring them in the face here at halftime, and this is going to go down to the wire. And then Looney gets a red card, and you're thinking, okay, now their backs are really against the wall. And whenever I've seen finals where they're so clearly a favourite, there's nothing, in my opinion, that can shake up the script like a red card. Because I remember, as a Dublin fan, experienced it, the 2019 final, when we played Kerry for the 5 in a row. We were overwhelming favourites. And the first time of that day where I thought, fuck, was when Johnny Cooper got a second yellow. That was the first time of the day where I thought, okay, that's not ideal. We have 14 players here for how long? 30 minutes? 35 minutes? And
second half,
yeah, you knew that all of a sudden the task had become so much bigger. And again, it was the same in the hurling final this year. The moment where I really thought Tipperary are going to win this is when Owen Downey got sent off. I still thought up until that point that Cork were going to pull it back and win the game, and it would have been that Tip put up a great fight. But it was when Downey got sent off, giving the penalty away, that I thought that's game over now. In this game, when Looney got the red card, right on the stroke of half time, it would have been an absolute huge boost to Galway going in at half time and a hammer blow for Cork. And speaking of Cork, we said it before we jumped into the game about Ger Manley's comments at the end of the game. I've seen it on a lot of comments as well on YouTube under the highlights. A lot of people complaining about the ref, his performances. What did you make of his performance? Obviously, you were there in the stadium. Was the atmosphere around the press box that this guy is not a great referee, or what was it like?
Without trying to bash him on on social media again, look, I have to be honest with you. I didn't think he was great. I'll be honest with you. And look, it's just me being honest. I don't know him personally. I don't know what he's like, but in my opinion, I don't think he had full control of the game, to be honest with you. And that was kind of the feeling around the press box as well, or at least certainly from where I was sitting anyways. And I was sitting with people who weren't from Galway or Cork. You know, these were neutral people saying this. So you can understand why Cork or Galway people might say it, but I had neutrals watching it with me, and they were saying the same thing. They were saying, you know, the referee's just blowing it for the sake here half the time, and he's giving cards that don't need to be given cards. Now, look, the red card, I will stand by. I do think the red card was right, but even then, that's still up for debate. Do you know what I mean? So
do you think he was bad towards Cork, or was he just bad in general?
I don't think he was exactly favouring either side. Okay. You know, I think either side could have had reasons to be upset, to be honest with you. Maybe more so Cork, maybe to a degree, but I can't sit here and say that Galway would exactly have been walking away thinking he was marvellous either, you know. But if that's the right word to use. But yeah, look, I can't say he was great yesterday, to be honest with you, from my point of view anyways. I felt he got a few decisions a bit wrong. I felt like he was a bit too stop-starty, a bit too fond of not making it about himself. I wouldn't say he went full James Owens on it, but he was just sort of like, you know, I just felt he lost control of it. And when you lose control of an All-Ireland final, you know, with everything that's at stake, with both teams after everything they've given for the year to get to this stage, it's not a great look for you, and you're going to get criticised no matter what.
Yeah, like I do agree. It was, I don't know, it was the type of thing that the red card for me, I've seen it given and I've seen it not given. And in All-Ireland final, I thought when you look back at it, I thought she didn't mean to hit her in the face. I thought she was shoving it, and then the stick got put up high, and then she does absolutely flatten. I think it was Carrie Dolan, wasn't it? But
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, Looney to me looks a lot stronger than Dolan, so I'm not surprised that she did just drop her like that. But the type of thing is it didn't scream that it was malicious, and I think if he'd given a yellow card for that, I don't think many people would have too much complaints about it. Maybe I'm wrong, but it definitely shook up the game. And the thing is as well is, even in that moment when Looney did that, and there was about 4 Galway girls who immediately came in and were onto her and shoving her and everything like that, you could tell like this is Galway are here on business. They're not going to let Cork. Like as Eilish O'Reilly said, you could sense it in her voice at full time, in her comments at full time, about we were here to take it off them. I mean, you could tell like this is a serious rivalry between both of those counties. Peter has a really, really interesting point here. He says, lads, what did you make of Pat Spillan's comments about doing away with post-final speeches from the president and the winning captain? He argues that the cup should just be handed over and shin. I don't agree. I really think that post-match speeches are the best. To be honest, the worst bit about the post-match speeches is when they start going into like, I want to thank our sponsors, and then everyone's like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
No, here's the rich bank. We care about the little man, and then that's going to take up 30 seconds of the speech. No one likes that bit. No, but it's one bit that kind of has to be done if you want them to sponsor you. I get that.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I think speeches are a wonderful thing. We need to get, especially Jarlath Burns' speeches.
I think the speeches are brilliant, especially at a club game. Whatever about an inter-county game, at a club game, you can get the most outrageous comments, get lads swearing and, you know, everything. I think they're absolutely excellent. And they create memories as well. Like, I mean, people remember speeches. I mean, the one even recent times that always sticks to me was Declan Hannon's speech in the 2020 All-Ireland final. Do you know, everyone was at home, nobody could go to the matches, and you know, the club championship was played first, and then the inter-county season was played from October to December. And the way he thanked all the people that were working for the HSC, people working in hospitals, people working overtime to try and save lives and everything. And just with the championship being at Christmas time, it was strange enough as it was, but it brought a bit of hope to the country. You know, it brought a bit of hope to people's houses. And, you know, it just felt like even just seeing the lights on in Croke Park at nighttime in winter, it felt a bit symbolic in a way. And his speech, I thought, like, I've met Declan Hannon once or twice. He's a very articulated man. He's a very intelligent man, you know, very nice person as well. So there was genuine feeling in what he said there, you know. And then, you know, you have the likes of who was the famous Galway player that had the speech back in the 80s?
Joe Connolly.
Yes, like speeches like that.
Obviously, Cahalane. He had the fluent Irish and everything like that. That was Cahalane.
It'll make hair stand on the back of your chest. Like, it's beautiful. As an Offaly fan, Martin Hannamy in 1994. Do you know, like even as a dub, like, I can imagine some of Stephen Cluxton's speeches as well have been ones to remember. Do you know, like, they're a symbolic part of GEA, and, you know, whether it's for club, whether it's for inter-county, I think they're special. You know, they can create funny memories, but they can also create a hope in a way for people. And then, look, you're never going to get the president of the GEA or the chairman of a county board to not do speeches. They're going to do speeches, you know. And look, maybe people had problems this year with maybe his speech after the All-Ireland football final, Charlotte Burns' one. But for me personally, I thought his one last year at the All-Ireland final between Clare and Cork was exceptional. Do you know? And look, in fairness to poor Larry McCarthy, the former president, I met him. He's actually a lovely person, to be fair to him. He has no bad blood whatsoever. But his speeches weren't the best. He was messing up names or places and names or getting mixed up where players were. You know, God bless him. It was a bad look for him. But, you know, Charlotte Burns' last year, it felt kind of refreshing to listen to it. So, look, Spillane, I love Spillane, but sometimes he says things that are a bit like, no, no.
I think as well. I think sometimes he's not as far away from Joe Brolly's in terms of clickbait shit that I would like him to be. Because I really, really like Pat Spillane. I really, really like him. And I like Joe Brolly. Like, I genuinely do. I think both of them. Yeah, Matthew doesn't, but I really like him. And I think as well, like, they make it fun. You know, it's fun every once in a while when someone throws out a bit of a hot take and, you know, people can talk about it and it gives us stuff to talk about, everything like that. But I think when he throws that out, I mean, you know, doing away with the post-match speeches, I don't agree with it. And I don't think it's really something that anyone is taking serious. I think maybe if you're to really investigate it, like, maybe, because sometimes if you get a captain who's not enthusiastic, or you get someone who doesn't have charisma, and they start tanking, like, you know, the list, and like, Jesus, the size of the backroom teams now, like, mate, I was listening to, I was like, oh my God, how many people are in this backroom team? Like when you get through the whole thing, I think the short and sweet speeches are always the best. And I thought as well, Brian actually has a great point. He says, what I hate about the post-match speeches when the captains say 3 cheers for the losing team. I think that is always the most ironic, petty, like,
you get told,
you know, everything like that. But I think, in my opinion, Carrie actually gave a great speech. As Peter says, Carrie Dolan delivered a fantastic. She really did. Yeah. I think the best, she did it really nicely, where she just asked for a round of applause for Cork. That's a better way. The 3 cheers is such a, it's such a fuck you, isn't it, to the other team? It's such like a, hey, it's like,
it feels like Americanization.
Yeah, no, but it does. It's really like, oh, well done, guys. You did so well. Like, you know, you lost the final. Yeah, that type of thing. That if I was on the experience, if I was on the other end of it, I would hate the 3 cheers. I'd hate them. I'd absolutely hate them. Fortunately, I've never seen Dublin lose. Well, I have seen Dublin lose a final. Meath 2021 in the LGFA. But apart from that, I've never seen Dublin lose. The LGFA, of course, I've seen Dublin lose. Nice. Something about Cork multiple times. That's been put out of my head. But apart from the LGFA, I've not seen Dublin lose an All-Ireland final. So usually All-Ireland finals, I associate them with winning. That's definitely a flex. But there's no question about it. I think the 3 cheers is the only thing I'd change about the speeches. But in terms of would I even entertain getting rid of them? Absolutely not. Now, I'm going to run up to the final as well, Liam. Peter has a really, really good point here. Says, even lads, 5:15 throw-in time was crazy for travelling back to Cork and Galway, and even the afters, the whole timeline was way too late. At least the LGFA had their senior final at 4:15. Now, the LGFA was almost the other extreme. I was working the entire day that day on the TG socials. The Antrim Louth game started so early. Like, literally, you arrived at the stadium, you know, at 10 o'clock, and the Antrim game is starting in an hour and a half. It was pretty mental. And then, you know, 11:45 throw in, and you're thinking, how is an All-Ireland final starting before 12 o'clock? But that's what they needed to do if they wanted to have the 3 finals in one day and have it wrapped up at a somewhat respectable time. What is the best solution here? Because I think when you're talking about it as well, because Peter says 28,000 a poor crowd, timing is definitely a factor here. I think there's a few things that is a factor. So the timing definitely didn't help. I think the other thing that has to be taken into consideration is the distance. Galway and Cork, both 3.5 hour drives for people to get to, especially depending what part of Galway they live in. Like if you live out in Invrin or in Carrarua, it's a 3-hour drive to get to Croke Park. Cork, it's even longer for most of especially the southern part of Cork. So that's a long way. I feel like you need to start, you know, arranging buses and everything like that up to the game, and it needs to be something. But the main thing that I was thinking is also the things that are on at the same time. Like the Fla, there was 800,000 people at the Fla over the course of from start to finish. 800,000 people going to the Fla. And trust me, most people down at the Fla were also GAA fans. So a lot of those people, if they weren't going to the Fla, might have gone to the All-Ireland Camogie final instead. And these are the things that I feel like in general, when it comes to our sports, arts and culture industry, they don't complement each other as much as they could. Because I remember thinking to myself, like, the Fla was on, would it have been possible in any way to have the two of them linked? Would it have been possible to have the Fla on, I don't know, do you get what I mean?
No,
like
I
it
do.
wraps up at a time where then people can go watch the Camogie final. Like, even at the Fla, I didn't really see the Camogie final on too many places. Like, they could have organised a big watch party in the middle of the square or something.
It's sort of similar to how I've thought for a long time. Do they take too much consideration about Premier League games in regard to showing GAA matches or rugby games or something like that? Do they worry too much about other sports? Because at the end of the day, if your club team is playing or your county team is playing, let's be honest, barring if you're soccer first, if you're rugby first, then fair enough. But like, if you're GAA first or Camogie or LGFA first, then realistically, you know, the World Cup final could be on. You're still going to go to your local game. You know, like I'll admit it. I watched the World Cup final in 2022 between Argentina and France just because, you know, Messi. I wanted to see Messi winning or whatever, and my club wasn't involved in the I think it was the All-Ireland semi-finals. But like, I can guarantee you, not one person from Ballyhill Shamrocks or Ballygunner that year gave one solitary fuck about the World Cup final being on at that same time. Do you know? Like they wouldn't have. Like you just got to think to yourself, right, for Irish culture anyway, like from other countries, forget about it. Don't worry about them. That's their stuff. We got to worry about ours. And then from this perspective of the Fla, like the Fla, or even like the Tullamore Show was on as well. You know, you'd 60,000 people at that. You know, you're just thinking, could they not just try and come up with some sort of a system to link it all the same in some sort of a way? Like, look, whether having the Fla up near Croke Park would have been the answer. Look, we just don't know. But I think you're right. They do need to complement each other better. And yeah, like you said there, even the fact that you're saying there that you didn't see the Camogie finals on in many places is disappointing to hear, to be honest with you. Because like at the end of the day, it's a national day of celebration.
Well, to be fair, I was working, so I wasn't.
No, that's fair, but like
I wasn't popping into pubs.
but you're probably not wrong with saying that. You know,
But there wasn't a massive, like, there is a very obvious town centre there in Wexford, and there wasn't like a massive spear garden, with the screen with the game on. That was slight, or I didn't see it. Maybe I missed it, but I don't think I would have, because I was literally whipping around the streets all day shooting content. But the thing is again, there was one interesting point made on Off the Ball. It'd be interesting to get your take on this, because then what is the fixer to it? He was saying, I forget who exactly it was, but he was saying something like 4 All-Ireland final weeks in a row is hard going. Like, it's hard to build up massive anticipation for all 4 finals, rather than if we just had almost like 2 weekends where there were finals. But then, is that massively diluting it? Are you making it too small? Is it too microwaved? Everything like that?
Well, you're thinking then, say, for example, they decided to put the Camogie and the hurling finals on the same weekend. Say the Camogie was on the Saturday and the men's hurling final was on the Sunday. You're asking Cork people to go to both games. You're asking Cork people to travel up and down for both games. And had Tipperary, say it was last year's junior final between Tip and Laois that was on this year, you'd have been asking Tip to do the same thing. So it's...
But imagine, right, this is what we're talking about when we're saying about, getting people up to watch the games and everything like that. Imagine if the Cork Galway final had been on the Saturday and then the Cork Tip game had been on the Sunday. And this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the junior, intermediate and senior. If you were talking about staggering it out over a couple of days, then I wouldn't say this. But the thing is people were in work today, and 5:15 is a very late time to have that game. And if you were going back down to Cork, what time did you get home at if you were going back down to Cork? If it's a 3.5 hour drive back down to Cork, you must have made it home at about 11:30. And then if you're in work early the next day, like, you'd want to have it booked off. So if you want to do junior, intermediate and senior camogie finals in the one day like you always have, Saturday would be a lot more realistic in terms of people being able to go to a late game. 5:15 p.m. would not be too late for a Saturday, but it feels slightly late for a Sunday. And then think about it this way, with Cork being in the All-Ireland hurling final, imagine if the GA put together some sort of agreement that, like, depending on, obviously you want to make sure that the numbers are right and you don't have too many people doing this, but that you could buy a ticket for both, like a combo package. You buy a ticket for the hurling final plus the camogie final. And I think a lot of Cork fans who are going up for the weekend, if they were going up on the Saturday, they may very well have popped in for the camogie final and then come back the next day for the hurling final. I think that is an interesting one to look at. It would have been probably Cork dominating the crowd again, which is something that I experienced as a dub in that semi-final. Cork were everywhere in the stadium that day. I think you have to look at it this way of going, if you want to get people to go, because here's the main thing, right? Of course, you can drive hype up. Hype is definitely the main thing that pushes ticket sales and pushes everything like that. Then jeopardy is another one. Not knowing who's going to win, like legitimately not knowing who's going to win. That's why the Leinster Championship attendances were so shit until Dublin got beaten. Because everybody knew what was going to happen. Everyone knew Dublin were going to win until they didn't. And then the next one is convenience. That's the next thing. If it's easy for people to get to, if it's easy for people to go and watch, people will go. If you make it difficult, like if you think about this, right, just from a perspective of, let's say, a Donegal person coming to Croke Park versus a Dublin person going to Croke Park. So for me, I can walk down on the morning of or get the bus. Like, I can leave the house 40 minutes before the game and be there with time to spare. A Donegal person has to arrange how they're going to get down there. If you're talking petrol money or paying for a bus, then you're also talking getting food and everything like that sorted. I can just cook something up at home before I go. You're talking about food prices. You're talking about finding somewhere to stay, like accommodation, everything like that.
Or parking.
Accommodation in Dublin is fucking extortionate. So, like, the price for a Donegal person to go to, like, an All-Ireland final versus a Dublin person is significantly higher over the course of the day. So that's the final thing, is convenience. And I don't know how you do that. I genuinely don't know how you make it the maximum level of convenience for people. I really don't. So I don't think it's the worst idea in the world to have 2 final weekends where you have the junior, intermediate, senior for LGFA and Camogie on the Saturdays, and then the senior men's final on the Sunday, with maybe the minor final for the men's underneath on the Sunday.
Sort of make it a festival weekend.
A festival weekend, exactly my point.
Exactly
my point. And if you were to do away with junior, intermediate, senior, well, then you could you could space them out over the weeks again. But as Peter says here, 4 final weekends in a row is a bit mad in terms of trying to dominate the spotlight and everything like that. It's a really, really interesting one to look at, because I think if we're talking, what is the record All-Ireland Camogie final attendance? In my opinion, if you'd sold the All-Ireland hurling final tickets as a package, and most Cork fans were up in Dublin on the Saturday, most of them were up in Dublin on the Saturday before that All-Ireland hurling final, I think if you'd gone that route and sold them as a package, I think we would have broke the All-Ireland Camogie final attendance record this year.
You could have, yeah.
I genuinely think that, because the Cork fans were travelling en masse. And when you look at it, you could apply the same thing to Cork, as I was talking about with Donegal there. The fuel, the distance, the food, the accommodation, everything like that. It's a lot. So then to do that 2 weekends in 1 year is tough. To do that 2 weekends in the space of 4, you're talking what? It probably cost you, all in total, including the ticket, it probably cost you somewhere in the range of €300, €400, €500.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot. So if you're doing that for 2 final weekends, that is a lot. But if they were both on almost on the same week, it's less of a push, and you'd be able to get more people to go. And then if there's a bigger crowd, you can build more hype and more jeopardy around it. And that final deserved to have a bigger attendance than 28k.
Yeah, like it'd be a way of trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But then obviously, and look, it could drive prices up, but obviously it all depends on if, say, a Cork or a Tipperary or say a Dublin in football terms, could they be more likely than the hurlers maybe? Like, it all depends if if the women and the men's teams get to the final as well. That all depends on it as well, I suppose. But because like the Donegal men could get to the All-Ireland final, but for the time being, the Donegal LGFA team won't be getting near an All-Ireland final. So I suppose, taking that into consideration. Look, it's difficult, because in a way there's no real great solution, because like you said there, an All-Ireland final starting before 12 o'clock in the day is mental, but then having an All-Ireland final at 5:15 in the evening on a Sunday, like I go home from, like I live in Offaly and I got home at 9 o'clock. Now I had to go to Burr, but like I got home at 9 o'clock and I'm only coming from Offaly. So you can imagine if you're going back to Cork or to the absolute west of Galway, then like, it's a killer, So look, I don't know whether there is an absolute perfect solution to it, but they're going to have to try and figure something, because even 4 weekends in a row it's a small bit exhausting as well, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it is. There's no question about it. I'm currently, I don't know where Aaron's website has disappeared to. I looked up GA Tactics Board and it's completely gone. If you want to have a look and see if you can find it. But yeah, there's no question about it. Galway were absolutely worthy of this All-Ireland title. You look at the steal that they showed at the end when Cork came back at them. They wanted it so bad. Like, there's no doubt about it. And they were fully deserving of it. Massive congratulations to Galway on a sensational All-Ireland title. Unbelievable stuff. Delighted for the tribeswomen. They are the All-Ireland Camogie Champions for 2025. Thoroughly deserved. Massive congratulations to everyone involved with this superb Galway team. You look at Carrie Dolan, 3rd All-Ireland for her. Aoife Donoghue, 3rd All-Ireland for her. Just absolute warriors in that team. From Roisin Black in fullback, Sarah Healy in goal, up to the forwards, the Niamh Mallons, the Ailish O'Reillys, the Carrie Dolans. Unbelievable. Fully deserving of the win. All-Ireland Camogie Champions for 2025. We're going to move on then to the intermediate, and I'll let you take the reins for this one. Offaly 14 points, Kerry 11 points. Liam, you ready? All-Ireland Intermediate Camogie Champions, and that crest is looking pretty good right now.
You love it and you hate it some days, but yesterday we loved it. Yeah, look, first of all, look, it's probably a small thing to other people, but to get a chance to commentate an All-Ireland final, regardless of what final it was a childhood dream yesterday for me personally. So that was thanks a million to treat for the opportunity. Jesus, it was a bit stressful at times because look, we're going to be honest, it wasn't the best game in the world, and people will admit that. Neutrals, it probably wasn't the best game to watch, but as we always say, finals are there for winning, so you don't care one bit. It could have been one score to no score. I wouldn't have cared. Once it was Offaly that got it, I wouldn't have given a shit at all. But yeah, look, I'm delighted, because I know a lot of those girls on the Offaly team personally, and they're the nicest people you'd ever meet, and they're super, super human beings as well. And yeah, look, the work that has gone in to get them to this stage, especially with the way, like, Offaly men suffered for a number of years, but Offaly Camogie were suffering for years as well. They were down in the doldrums as well. They were going nowhere anytime soon. Sort of similar to what Offaly LGFA is kind of going through at the moment, although, albeit, I feel like the Offaly LGFA is in a much worse state at the moment than what Offaly Camogie ever was. But nevertheless, they weren't exactly going to be winning All-Irelands anytime soon or getting back up to the top stages. But now there's a team there. There's a structure in place there. They're getting planning permissions to, build a new training facility for the Camogie team as well, which is absolutely brilliant to hear, as well as having them training in the faithful fields as well. So there's great progression going in the county at the moment. But as David Sullivan said, it was great getting to the semi-final last year, but semi-final is not good enough this year. We want to win it, and the day they bet Antrim in the semi-final was the day I said, right, we're winning this All-Ireland, because they went into the season as favourites, and the way they turned around losing the opening day against them, and the way they sort of did it, the way they got over the line in that semi-final, I said, right, there's a belief there in this group. They'll fight to the bitter end, and that's exactly what they did yesterday. I think on commentary I called the game a Mourinho masterclass from both sides, because it was just such a defensive game, but both defenses were absolutely sensational. And in particular, I mean, Orlaith Cahalane as captain, she's only 20, I think she's only 20 years of age. But when you speak to her, I've interviewed her a couple of times, when you speak to her, when you see how she applies herself on the pitch and how she carries the group together, you can see exactly why she was made captain. She's absolutely excellent. Like she breaks through tackles, catches the ball, the way she flicks the ball away from her opponents. She's absolutely sensational. She had a brilliant game yesterday. Read it so well. Emer Reynolds in goals. I don't know how Kerry didn't score a goal, to be honest with you. They the chance that they missed. We had Sarah Ann Fitzgerald, former Laois player, on commentary with us, and we both just had our heads on our shoulders because we couldn't believe what was after happening. But yeah, no, she had a brilliant game in goals. Sharon Shanahan did an excellent job in the second half, because she was going down with cramps a lot in the first half. She didn't look maybe as comfortable as she could have, but she kept battling on, kept battling hard, and yeah, she never gave Patrice Diggin a sniff of it in the second half. She never ever let her out of her sight. Jackie Horgan as well. She had a bit of a niggle in the first half, similar to Shanahan as well, which probably derailed her influence on the game, because she was having a fantastic first half. She was destroying our backline, to be honest with you. But once we got a grip of her, they were able to stop her, then it became a bit easier from there. Just the whole performance from the Offaly team. It was the work rate that they put into. I mean, Grace Tehan, she was unbelievable. Took her chances extremely well. Even Mairead Tehan, she only got the 1 point from play, but she was being chased at every opportunity. Yeah, the Tehans are a credit to the county. They're excellent players. And even the likes of Kate Pilkington, she didn't get a score, but she worked. Fiona Dooley as well. Clodagh Lahey, she started like a house on fire, got a great score over her shoulder as well, kind of similar to like how Patrick Horgan would get it over his shoulder, and look, she missed a couple of frees here and there, but she kept stepping up, she kept taking on the leadership role, and she's been sensational for Offaly this season. But Roisin Kinsella as well, I should have mentioned as well, she had a blinder at centre back. So yeah, look, I'm just delighted to see them get over the line. And look, it's disappointing for Kerry. I felt sorry for Kerry, because they've been excellent this season themselves. Like, they've ended the season without conceding a goal, which is absolutely incredible. I don't know how you go through an entire campaign not conceding a goal and still not end it with silverware. That's absolutely mental. But listen, they were a credit to themselves. They kept battling to the end. It just wasn't to be for them. They maybe just didn't have enough in attack apart from Horgan. And I mean, even Kate Lynch had her moments, but she wasn't on it as much as I thought she would have been. She had a yellow card, which didn't help her either. Amy O'Sullivan wasn't at her best either. But look, I think that's more down to the work of the Offaly defence than anything else. But yeah, I'm over the moon for them. It's the second All-Ireland title at this grade. It's the first one in 15 years. And yeah, look, I'm just absolutely delighted for them.
Oh, it's going to be absolutely, yeah, it was unbelievable scenes there when they did over the line. And to be honest, if you told me that Kerry would have kept Offaly without scoring a goal, to be honest, I would have thought that Kerry would have won, because I thought that goals were Offaly's route to victory, especially when you've seen just how many of them the Tehans had got up until this game. Mairead Tehan, I think it hit 5 coming into this final. They kept her relatively quiet. I mean, they put serious pressure on her. For Kerry, though, when you look at the fact that Patrice Diggin got 8 of the scores that they got in the final, and only 3 points came from other players, it does hint at the slight over reliance on her. Whereas Offaly, a bit more of a spread of scorers. You got Claude Lahi there with 7, Grace Tehan with 5, Mairead Tehan and Ellen Regan chipping in as well. There wasn't as much of a reliance on Patrice Diggin as Offaly had on some of their players. So definitely, it's an unbelievable performance and an unbelievable victory. Peter says, Liam, is Kate Pilkington Johnny's daughter or anything related to Johnny Pilkington?
Yeah, I think she did. I think she is the daughter. I could be wrong in saying that, and I should know that because I know Johnny Fierce well. But yeah, she's related in some way to him. Many ways. I believe she's the daughter. I could be wrong in saying that. Johnny, please don't find out where I live. But regardless, she's got the Pilkington in her, anyways. Never say die attitude, the work rate, up and down the field, like Johnny in his prime. But yeah, no, look, the Pilkingtons are bird are a great hurling family, great tradition up there. And yeah, look, herself and the entire Offaly forward line, they didn't need to get scores. They just needed to help out the team. And look, that's the thing as well. Offaly put up such big scores all year that, in a way, it was probably our worst performance this year, even worse than, say, even the Antrim defeat in the opening round. From what I'd seen, I'd watched, obviously the Antrim game wasn't streamed, so I wasn't able to watch that one, but every other game I'd seen this year, and I have to say yesterday's one definitely didn't fill me with the biggest of confidence, but yeah, it's the one that's won us an All-Ireland, it's ironic, but yeah, look, the work rate out of the team was the most important thing out of anything, because I said, look, even if they don't win this final, I'm still happy with the direction they're going in, because it's a young panel, it's a young squad, they've a lot of young players in that team, and look, they've bright futures ahead of them. But look, I was at the homecoming last night, and the message was kind of clear. We're not looking to win, sort of similar to the Offaly men when they won the Joe McDonagh last year. Next year is not going to be about taking down Galway, taking down Cork, taking down even Kilkenny or even Dublin or anything like that, or even to a degree maybe, well, see, they lost to Wexford in the Leinster Championship, but I've seen Wexford since play a couple of games, and look, they're not a team that Offaly should be fearing, really, to be honest with you. So I think next year's aim is just simply, right, we've got promotion from Division 2A, survival in that, and survival in the senior championship are the most important things, and then you can build from there. You see it with Offaly this year. Okay, I didn't expect them to go up to Division 1A, but they stayed in Division 1B at a minimum. So they would have been getting good games next year regardless, and now they're in the Leinster Championship again next year, so now they can start building, and then you've all the younger players that will be coming back next year, hopefully a bit injury free. So it'll be similar with the Offaly Camogie team. Hopefully now a lot of them can stay together. Hopefully there won't be too many departures from the panel, anyways, which you can understand. Girls want to go live their lives, they want to travel, or they have to go do work or college or whatever. But if the large majority of that panel can stay together next year with a few additions, then there'll be no doubt that survival can definitely be a target that can be reached.
Absolutely, it's all about just taking those next steps, but there's no question about it. Deserving intermediate champions, especially for the semi-final win against Antrim. I mean, that was unbelievable, coming back and beating, in my opinion, what was the standout team in that championship. And then moving finally to the All-Ireland Junior Camogie Championship final, Laois 2-15, Armagh 12 points at Croke Park as well. This was the game that opened up the day. Grania Delaney with 1-2 and Amy Daly hit the back of the net. That was the majors for Laois, while Amy Collier also chipped in with 7 points. Sudie Delaney was a little bit more quiet in this game. She only got 1 point, but Laois still had, in the end, too much firepower for Armagh and run home to a 9-point victory, claiming the All-Ireland Junior Camogie Championship for 2025.
Yeah, first of all, before we say anything, I have a bone to pick with you. I am no Laois supporter. You've been trying to claim the last couple of weeks. I got called British because I accidentally said we about the British and Irish Lions on the radio a couple of weeks ago, and now apparently,
Oi.
and now you're trying to claim I'm a Laois man. That's not fair. I work for a station that covers all three Midlands counties. I have to be unbiased. So I was look. I've met some of the Laois panel as well, and look, they're lovely. I'll admit it. They're nice people. And there's great work going in there as well. They're launching, or have they launched already, Bonlea Cluiche as well, development program, which is absolutely brilliant for them as well. I was interviewing the Laois chairperson a couple of weeks ago, and the secretary as well. They're doing great work there. They brought Brian Malloy down to Port Laois to launch it. So there's great work going in behind the scenes in both Laois Camogie and Laois LGFA as well. But yeah, look, more to the point. Yeah, look, Laois outscored Armagh 110 to 3 points in the second half. You know, they absolutely obliterated them in the second half because, like, they got the start, an absolute dream start. You know, Gráinne Delaney's goal, the way they were playing at the start, I was thinking, Jesus, you know what, this could be a walk in the park for Laois. And then the way Armagh was playing, then after that, I was like, oh, this is going to be a walk in the park for Armagh. You know, it was, I don't know how there was only 1 point in it at halftime. I don't know how Armagh were only winning by a point at halftime. I was like, right, okay, it's interesting. Laois haven't been at their best. Maybe there is more to come from them. And by God, there was. You know, Amy Collier was being marked in the first half. I even said at halftime, I said, if they should look to bring her out instead of keeping her there in the full forward line, because, excuse me, they had 2 or 3 players marking her every step of the way in the first half. She wasn't able to get a sniff of it. And then the moment she was brought even a few yards out the pitch, she was catching the ball, drawing fouls, and she was more sort of in the game. And it brought a lot more players into the game as well. Like, Gráinne Delaney only had 3 points in the entire championship before yesterday, and she ended the game with 1-2. You know, like, what a time to just absolutely obliterate your entire scoring tally for the season on one day. But yeah, look, Amy Delaney got the other goal as well, which was brilliant for her. Collier ended with 7 points. Yeah, look, it was, and Clodagh Tynan as well. I thought she was an absolute rock at the back for Laois. I thought she was absolutely excellent. So yeah, look, it's a brilliant win for Laois. They'd lost so many finals over the last year, like Robert Jones and Pat Collier, the co-managers. They were getting sick of finals nearly, to be honest with you, because they were. It's not like they were getting hammered in these finals. They were losing them all by a score. You know, 1 point, 2 points. You know, just millimeters away from claiming any bit of silverware. And obviously, the one last year against Tipperary's second team would have hurt the most because it was the championship final. But now they've beaten Armagh twice in the 1 year. They had a superb second half performance. And overall, they deserved to win. There was no question about it. They were the much better side in the second half. I mean, you can't be scoring 3 points in the second half and expecting to win. You know, there's just no way that's going to happen. But yeah, look, an unbelievable performance for Laois. They'll be back up to intermediate next year, which is where they want to be. It's where they should be realistically. And yeah, look, whether they can stay up next year, it's going to be hard to know because they had a lot of departures from the panel last year. I hope that the same doesn't happen again this year, because you want to see these counties growing. You want to see them, you know, developing players and growing as fast as they can to try and make the Camogie Championship more competitive. But it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, it's a great win for Laois. Great way to win the junior championship.
Certainly. And yeah, absolutely credit to everyone involved. All-Ireland Junior Camogie Champions for 2025. And as you mentioned there, Gráinne Delaney turning up on the biggest day of all. Recovered from a rough enough first half to have a dominant second half and run home to the title. Peter Griffin has a question here for me in particular. Peter asks me, Séamus, happy with Ger's appointment? Obviously referring to the announcement that Ger Brennan is the new Dublin football managers, and have to say, first of all, real touch of class from Laois, the way they put out that post, basically wishing Ger all the best and thanking him for his service. It's a real classy way to end the relationship there. And the thing is, both of them have, you know, benefited massively from working together. And now Ger is taking over his native county Dublin. And as a Dublin fan, I am absolutely delighted with that appointment. Absolutely thrilled. Ger is an absolute gentleman. I had him on my podcast about 4 years ago. When I was only starting off, I met him at a college game between UCD and DCU, and I went up to him and asked him for an interview. And he sat down and took an hour out of his day and did an interview with me when I was only starting out. So he is a true gentleman. And there's no question about it. He certainly has the credentials to step right into this Dublin job. And, you know, if we win the Leinster Championship next season, I think that probably will make Ger the first manager to win back-to-back Leinster football titles with 2 different counties. So there's a bit of history there for him to be made. There's no question about it. He is the best out of the options that were available following Dessie Farrell's retirement from the team. And there's no question about it. Dublin have made the right choice here. I'm thrilled, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see where we go from here, because I think when you look at the squad, there's no question about it. We're in a different place now than we were 7 years ago. The level of talent that we had, you know, under the Jim Gavin later years and Dessie's early years was the greatest squad that I think anybody's ever had in Gaelic football. It was so deep, the amount of talent, the amount of players in that team that were all-stars, multiple All-Ireland winners. There's no question about it. I don't think we'll ever see a team like that again. So for Ger, it's a massive task because he has to manage that transition from the last few that are remaining from that crop into the new crop and try to get the best out of it. But I think we've gone with the right man. And I think we're All-Ireland contenders again. I think you'd be silly to discount Dublin winning an All-Ireland. I really do. I'm not saying that we're front runners. I'm not saying that we're favourites. But I'm saying that we will be contenders, especially with Ger Brennan at the helm. Dessie did an amazing job, but I'm very happy with Ger at the helm now. Also, Peter says, Peter Keane gone from Clare. That's another one that is an interesting one to look at. I wonder if that journalist that he called it had anything to do with it. Then Peter also says, lads, thoughts on combined statement from Tip, Waterford, Clare, Limerick players about seedings. Is this about the Munster Championship being seeded so that Cork will probably meet Kerry in the final? Look, I can understand why they're frustrated in a way, because getting to the Munster final means obviously that you get into the Sam Maguire Cup. In my opinion, it should never have been the case that getting to a provincial final means you get into the Sam Maguire Cup. That, for me, should never have been the way that it is. In my opinion, it should be that Division 1 and Division 2 go into the Sam Maguire Cup. And then the only way for a Division 3 or 4 team to get into the Sam Maguire is to either get promoted out of Division 3 or win your province. That's the way I would be going. So Roscommon 2010 stick out as an example of a team that weren't in Division 2 or Division 1 winning their provincial championship, and then they would have got into the Sam Maguire Cup. That's the way I would have done things. I understand where they're coming from, but I just think scrap getting to a provincial final means Sam Maguire. There's no, like, if you get into a provincial final and you get your ass whooped, in my opinion, that shouldn't warrant you then getting into the Sam Maguire Cup. It's the type of thing where, in my opinion, Division 1 and Division 2 should go into Sam Maguire, and the only way that you can leapfrog into the Sam Maguire is by winning the province outright, because then that proves without any shadow of a doubt that you are worthy of being in that competition. It's a really, really interesting one. The combined statement from Tip, Waterford, Clare, Limerick players, very, very understandable where they're coming with this. And Brian here as well makes a great point. Brian makes a great point about Ger Brennan's appointment. Says still the All-Ireland winners are still there. Can he get Fenton back? I mean, that would be very interesting to see. Is Ger Brennan going to pick the phone up to Brian Fenton, James McCarthy, Paul Mannion, Jack McCaffrey? Are we going to see the boys come back again? Or are we going to see Ger try and move the team on into a bit of a new era? It's going to be really, really interesting. But I, as a Dublin fan, I'm absolutely buzzing to see what the future will bring. And now, Liam, favourite bit, the All-Star Camogie team of 2025. Are you ready to dive into this? This is the first draft. This is not our official one. Obviously, our official one will be coming. Hint, hint, hint. But All-Star Camogie team, I'm going to share the screen now. And then we will dive in initially. So Matthew helped me to make the LGFA team of the year. And then we obviously helped Aaron make his team of the year in football. I managed to talk Aaron. Would you believe Aaron was not going to have Paddy Clifford in his football team until I talked him into it? So this can be beneficial for both of us. But let's start off with the team. And let's start off, first of all, with the goalkeeper. So straight away, I'm thinking Sarah Healy. I think throughout the course of the year, she's absolutely fantastic. I think you can't ignore how solid she was in goal in the final. Obviously, the penalty save I mean, need I say any more than that? Are you happy with Sarah Healy in goal?
Yeah, there's no complaints from me. I'd have been saying Sarah Healy myself. So yeah, I'm very happy with that.
Okay, perfect. So Sarah Healy is in there between the sticks. Moving out into the full back line, I'm going to go with the obvious one, Roisin Black at number 3.
Yeah, 100%. Especially, it's funny. I don't think All-Star should be determined by All-Ireland finals or All-Ireland semi-finals, or just by that. But I think you can't take away from her performance yesterday. Her performance yesterday alone warranted her place.
Unbelievable stuff. And now I led the charge on the first 2 positions. If you want to take one of the cornerback positions, tell me who you're thinking for one of the spots.
Yeah, look, it's going to get a lot more difficult as we go along the team. But I think for me, I think Pamela Mackey has been very, very good for Cork this year. I think she's definitely warranted her spot at cornerback.
Pamela Mackey is a very good one. I want to have Dervla Higgins in the defence. There's no question about it. It's just, where do we put her? Because she's, she can do a job out at wing back. She can do a job at cornerback.
I would probably stick her at wing back.
I'm going to put her at 5 over here.
Yeah.
Dervla Higgins, I thought she was absolutely unbelievable, especially in the final. Again, now I know we're saying you can't let final performances completely determine the All-Star picks, but I think, the day to perform is the biggest day of all. I'm going to go with someone else who had an amazing final and an amazing year, Laura Hayes on the other side. And she was absolutely brilliant throughout that. Really carried the fight to Galway. Is there anyone else do you think is a must for these 2 positions?
I think for 6, you got to go with Ciara Hickey.
Yeah, I agree. Ciara Hickey. I mean, you said it there. I mean, Galway's defence on the run up to the final was their obvious calling card. And I mean, we have Sarah Healy at 1, Roisin Black at 3, and Ciara Hickey at 6. I mean, it's.
I think Tracy would have been a fitting position as well, but I just think the way she dominated the back line yesterday, I think Hickey just has to be in there. If not at centre back, she has to be minimum at wing back. Because I mean, she can play any place across the pitch. But yeah, happy enough with that.
I would agree. Is there anyone that we can throw in maybe to the defence? Because myself and Matthew threw Leisha Lenihan in from the LGFA, from Kildare, someone who didn't get to the final. Is there anyone from Tip? Is there anyone from Waterford? Is there anyone is there Mairead Everston from Tip had a good year? Could she be thrown in?
Yeah, this one's very difficult because you don't want to just go with Galway and Cork because it's just not fair. Yeah. I think Everston's probably the best option from Tipperary anyways. There's no question about that. I'm just trying to think from Waterford who would be the best option. I think Orlaith Hickey had a good year for Waterford.
Orlaith Hickey had a good year as well. There's no question about it.
Maybe not All-Star. Maybe, I'm not sure. Alana McNulty, I thought, had a decent year as well. Potentially, she wasn't too bad either.
Vicky Faulkner as well had a good year. Rachel Walsh. Keely Corbett Barry at number 3.
Yeah, you could stick her out cornerback potentially. I'd say. Yeah, I would say go with her.
Okay, I'm happy to go with her. I thought she was solid at fullback. We'll go with Keely.
It's the same argument with Davy Fitzgerald for Clare. What position was he playing half the time? You just don't know.
So we'll go with her there. Midfield now. There's a very, very interesting battleground here. I think we'll go with the obvious. We'll put Carrie Dolan at 9.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely sensational. And the thing is, it's up to the final.
Hannah Looney, yeah.
Looney would have been in. I don't think you can put her in when she's, made an error like that.
Is there still that rule that I know there was the rule back in the day that if you got a red card, you couldn't get an All-Star? Is that still there?
I don't even know, man. To be honest, if it is, I think it's bullshit. But
yeah,
because players can be given ridiculous red cards. Obviously, if you box the head off someone, you probably shouldn't get an All-Star. But if you get a red card for a cynical tackle or just an incident like that, where I think I mean, we've never seen Hannah Looney do that before. And again, I go back to it. In my opinion, it wasn't as malicious as people have made out like it is. But I can see why she was sent off.
I would still go with her, even with the red card, to be honest with you. I
Ashton
know
Thompson could be a shout either. Or
yeah.
Lorraine Bray, I think, from Waterford also deserves to put in.
Lorraine Bray has been excellent. I'd be willing to put Thompson even at wing forward, possibly.
I think if we're putting Thompson in, I'd want to put her at 8.
That's true, yeah.
She did get 2 points in the final in the first half. I'm willing to go Thompson.
See, this is why I'm not on the All-Star picking panel.
Okay, Thompson's in. And we're going to move to the half-forward line now. The first player I'm going to put in the half-forward line is not from Galway and it's not from Cork, but I thought she had an outstanding year. Niamh Rockett.
Yeah.
I thought she was absolutely brilliant. And you look at some of the performances she had over the course of the year, she really stood up for Waterford throughout the year. And you're looking at how reliant they were on Beth Carton in previous years. They weren't as reliant on Beth Carton.
Beth was still fairly good this year.
She was still good. Was she all-star good in your opinion?
Maybe not all-star good, but I mean, she still got 1-3 or 1-4 against Cork in the semi-final, which wasn't too bad either. But yeah, maybe not all-star this year, maybe not.
Who else are you thinking that needs to be in this team?
I think now. I mean, Grace O'Brien. I thought she was excellent for Tipperary this year.
Grace O'Brien, I'm happy to put her in.
Yeah.
I thought she was really, really good. I was going to make a case as well, potentially, for Karen Kennedy.
Yeah.
I mean, she got a lucky goal, I know, in the semi-final, but I thought over the course of the year, Karen Kennedy was very good.
There's no such thing as a fortuitous goal. A goal is a goal.
But they've struggled with positions for Karen Kennedy. Like, they've struggled to know exactly where to put her. They put her centre half back. They put her in the forwards. They put her, and then midfield seems to be where they've kind of finally settled on putting her.
Yeah.
Let's see how we develop with the team. I think another player who has to go in, I'm going to put her at the jersey she was wearing all year, Aoife Donoghue for me at 12.
Yeah, 100%.
Outstanding display in the final. You cannot ignore how good she was in that game. And that leaves us with 3 positions left. So we have centre half forward, full forward, and right corner forward. I think players that jump out to me initially, I think you're looking at Amy O'Connor. I think you're looking at potentially Ailish O'Reilly. She was quiet. The thing is with Ailish O'Reilly, she was quiet up until the game that mattered the most.
Yeah.
She was quiet. She got the semi-final, she got 5 points, and the final then she got 3. And all 3 of those points came at very important stages. So
but ironically,
is that enough to get her in?
Ironically, those are the moments that people will remember. That's the only that is the only thing. It's look, I don't agree with it. I don't think players should be just based off one game in the year, but people will remember the final for much longer than they will a first round game or a second round game, you know. So look, I'd be happy to talk more about some other players before we settle on that. I think O'Connor has to be in there 100%.
Yeah, I think Amy O'Connor has to be in, and I'm going to say one more player for me that has to be in because I thought she was outstanding as well all throughout. I think you got to put Saoirse McCarthy in.
Yeah, took the words right.
She has to go in at 11 for me.
Yeah, I was going to say you couldn't throw her into the full forward line. She has to be on the half forward line.
Yeah, I like that as a half forward line. That's a very good half forward line. Actually, just looking at it.
Jesus, I like the Offaly team, but Jesus, I don't want them to go up against that next year. Jesus Christ. Oh, could you imagine?
I'm after hitting Control Z and deleting her out. See, these type of things that I'm supposed to know. I'm supposed to be good with tech.
No all-star for you, seriously. Sorry.
No, yeah, so the computer doesn't want Saoirse in the team. But
yeah.
but anyway, We'll keep moving. I think I'm happy to go Amy O'Connor.
Yeah.
I'll move that up a little bit so you have the space. Amy O'Connor in there at top of the right. And then at full forward, I'm trying to think through who are, usually candidates. You got Beth Carton. Could you make a case for Beth? Could you make a case for... I think you couldn't make a case for Katrina Mackey this year. I think she was too quiet. I had a poor enough final by her standards.
Even just as an outlandish one, I know she only got to the quarterfinals, but Aoife Prendergast.
Aoife Prendergast was very good for Kilkenny.
She was excellent for a Kilkenny team that, well, we all thought was in transition, and then ironically to go and fucking win Leinster like a piece of piss, and probably should have won that quarterfinal with Tipperary realistically. But I thought she was excellent all year. But obviously, look, she was not. It's always difficult to select a player when they didn't get to minimum a semi-final. But so I throw her name out there anyways.
Is it outrageous that Niamh Mallon is not in yet?
I completely forgot. I completely forgot. Jesus, yeah.
I think Niamh Mallon has to be in. I think.
She's never gonna. I hope she's not watching this.
Yeah, I think Niamh Mallon's in, man. I do. We got
fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. I don't
know how we missed her. Jesus Christ.
Throughout the course of the year, I think she's been absolutely brilliant. And then, so that I'm happy with that team, Liam. Are you happy with it?
Yeah, no, I'm generally happy enough with that. Obviously, we've left out one or two players, which, again, I hope they're not watching. But
again, hint, hint, we're gonna have an official team coming soon.
Yeah.
But just to read you through it, we've got Sarah Healy from Galway in goal, Keely Corbett Barry from Waterford at right corner back, Roisin Black from Galway at fullback, and Pamela Mackey from Cork on the left. The half-back line then, Ciara Hickey from Galway is at 6 with Dervla Higgins, her county teammate, at 5, and Laura Hayes from Cork at 7. Midfield is Cork and Galway again with Aisling Thompson and Carrie Dolan respectively. Half-forward line then is Niamh Rockett of Waterford, Saoirse McCarthy of Cork, and Aoife Donoghue of Galway. And the full forward line then is Amy O'Connor of Cork, Niamh Mallon of Galway, and Grace O'Brien of Tipperary. Grace O'Brien, of course, was the top scorer of the year with 4 goals and 44 points. Absolutely outstanding individual display. Liam, if we're talking then player of the year, who's the first one that jumps out?
I'd love to say Carrie Dolan just simply for the free yesterday, to be honest with you. Certainly moment of the year, I think you got to go with that. For player of the year, this is where it gets a bit more difficult. See, Aisling Thompson's been excellent all year. See, it's always difficult to get... I can still always just remember when Ozzie Gleeson won player of the year in 2016, he didn't even reach the final, you know? I'm trying to go from that perspective. Aoife Donoghue's been excellent all year, but then... See, she had an excellent final, but she wasn't scoring like 1-5 or 1-6 or something like that. I'm just thinking, is that going to be a potential factor? I don't like this. I don't like
the one thing as well, man, we're talking about the top scorers. I've just whipped up Matthews this to remind us. Beth Carton is the top scorer from play with 322.
Yeah.
And we don't have her in.
I did mention her.
Yeah, it could be a very, very controversial decision not having her in. 322 from play. Like, this isn't...
That's outrageous. Now, how much? The only thing I will say is how much of that was against Derry.
That's very true.
Not taking it away from her. I'm only just.
But yeah, you're right. Though. No, I do need to look that up because that was an annihilation.
You know, it's the only factor I would have there. But obviously, you can't blame her. She has to go out and she still has to go out and do it. You know, she's not going to exactly show sympathy to Derry for their issues at the back or whatever. But yeah, that's... Look, we're not going to make everybody happy here. Let's be honest.
No, it's impossible.
You know, yeah, I think right there, red card, no all-star rule still there. Yeah, all right, fair enough. So, well, Darren McCarthy's getting no all-star. Well, I don't think he would have anyway, but he's getting no all-star anyway.
I had him in my team. Yeah,
he might not.
530. Beck Carton scored 1-8 in that game.
So 214 from play overall, which is still good.
It's still good. I'd be happy to leave her slightly out. But again, not too confident in it overall. I am going to... Peter says Roisin Black is his player of the year.
That's a good shout.
It's a really, really good shout, man. She had such a good final. It's really, really hard to argue with that. I'm going to go the obvious one now. I'm going to go Carrie Dolan.
I'm going to go with Roisin Black just to be different. I think it'd be nice to see a defender recognised, similar to men's football. I think Cannavaro was the last defender to win a Ballon d'Or. You know, it's nice to recognise defenders every now and again. So
yeah, absolutely.
I said as a forward, I shouldn't be, but still, it's nice to recognise them.
Brian says here, my Sunday evenings won't be the same. Séamus, what will I do? And who will I have my conversations about GA with? Well, don't you worry, Brian, because we'll be still here covering the club championship every single weekend. And at that point, it gets more fun as well, because obviously you're diving into different stories and everything like that, and you're hearing them a lot. And that's when the amount of games gets absolutely ridiculous. But that is the episode over. Galway are the All-Ireland Senior Camogie Champions for 2025. Offaly the All-Ireland Intermediate Champions, and Laois are the All-Ireland Junior Champions. And we've given you our first draft of our all-star team. Liam, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much to everyone that commented during the show. We'll be back here once again, as I said, next Sunday, 8 p.m. to start talking about the club championship. Until then, enjoy yourselves. Agus Torah.